The Media Project.
Welcome to episode 200 of the Are We Here Yet podcast. As always, I'm your host, Scott Graves. I'm really excited that we've made it. We've made it to episode 200. It's been about 5 years that we've been putting together the Are We Here Yet podcast. We've tried really hard to create compelling episodes, each and every of those 200 episodes. And coming through 199, in fact, by the way, taking a step back here for a moment, this episode's so hip. It's actually coming out after we've already put out, I think, 201, maybe even 202 by the time we get this out. Because I really actually, in all seriousness, struggled with exactly what episode 200 should be. Would we have a guest or not? Maybe I'll have multiple guests. With everything that's going on in our world, and as you know, we focus a lot on economics and urbanism and the cultural intersections that affect these things that kind of come at the crossroads of all these subject matter. And a lot of it has to do with, particularly housing and the built environment because of the work that I do as a developer and as an economic development professional on top of that. So, but with everything going on the way it is, I felt compelled to comment on that. And so the episode you're about to hear and the essay that I crafted for your ears and eyes deals with the current situation, what I think is ultimately at the core of where we're heading as a political body, as a nation, as a culture. I hope you enjoy. I hope it compels you to create your own dialogue with groups of people around you. Most importantly, I hope in some small way, it inspires or compels you to take action. As always, love learning, love life, and thanks for listening. Robert Reich wrote on his Substack for the 16th of September, one study found that half of Americans expect a second civil war to happen in the next few years, even if the specifics vary according to one's politics and imagination. He moves on to say, on the other hand, unlike the Civil War of 1861 through 65, no particular issue, like slavery back then, pulls the nation apart. While immigration, crime, abortion, and LGBTQ plus rights are controversial, none of these seem to elicit the anger and passions that might generate civil war. Nor are we enduring an economic calamity, pandemic, world war, or other national cataclysm that might force Americans to take sides. To some extent, I take issue with this, insofar as to say, while we're not experiencing a singular polarizing issue such as slavery, and though we can't point to a singular economic calamity that brought this on, it is, in my estimation, a fact of decades of economic factors and now a looming economic disaster that has put us here. We've managed to create an economy over the last half-century that excludes, then isolates individuals by limiting access to everything from communications to housing. Housing in your home sitting at the apex of human need. Socially, we tell the newly minted, abandoned economic nomads that it's their fault. Our systems and our leaders constantly remind them in a myriad of ways that they don't have what it takes to make it. Then we forget these individuals, unless or until they commit a mass shooting, or we find them dead of an overdose behind the Walgreens. Maybe, just maybe, they are thought of by elected officials from time to time when their votes are needed. My thoughts on our society have been shaped in part by my experiences as a youngster with poverty. My young life started stable and solidly middle class, then descended through family circumstance into the grips of poverty. Don't get me wrong, I have countless fond memories from my upbringing. Here, though, I'd rather for a moment focus on our experiences that represent the other side of growing up in America. Growing up poor in America. A friend once recounted the quote, "The only thing worse than a country full of have-nots is a country full of used-to-haves." We are a country massed with people who know what they are missing. For decades, some of us were building a society based on creativity, positive energy, robust education, for some of us. And while for others, we built a society where resentment, economic fear, shame for your economic status, and we took this underbelly of societal cancer and we metastasized it. We've turned grief into grievance. We've given nearly all the worst in each and every one of us a voice and put it to work in the service of accelerating the downward spiral that enriches an ever smaller number of our neighbors. I'm the product of the 1980s. My life has occurred during the dismantling of the New Deal. I'm also proud of my family's immigrant heritage. I believe in the countless individual stories that make up the story of North America, that tell us the story of the American experiment. The community in central Massachusetts where I grew up was no stranger to global changes in the economy, albeit being in the Northeast meant that we were spared the very worst of deindustrialization for the most part until well into the early aughts. Our family suffered a divorce, not an affliction caused by economics, but one that significantly altered the economic trajectory of our little family. What's so striking to me to this day is the dichotomy between those that were always there to help, with those community members who suddenly discovered, to my little mind, that we had committed a grave transgression. Did they think we'd given them the flu? Was it something my mom said? Do I have something on my shirt? You see it when people look just above your head into the distance when you approach. You begin to understand that some people still have what you once had, and they might even be taking it for granted. People stopped talking to us at church. The farther we got away from affluence, the further folks seemed to get away from us. I was learning a seminal point that we don't like to tell ourselves about ourselves. For all that Americans can be wonderfully gracious when called upon, there are just as many of us who long ago gave into the desire of self-preservation by blaming others when those others need help. By keeping a distance from the affliction of poverty. Maybe, just maybe, by doing so, we won't get any of that shit on us. Except the churning economic deprivation knows no boundaries. It doesn't stop for anything. Denying our systems have been kicking people to the side of the road while kicking the specter of debt, failed institutions, and social ills down the road has left us all in grave peril. Frank Zappa said, "The illusion of freedom will continue as long as it's profitable to continue the illusion. At the point where the illusion becomes too expensive to maintain, they will just take down the scenery. They will pull back the curtains. They will move the tables and chairs out of the way, and you will see the brick wall at the back of the theater. I fear that the show is about to be over." History. It's what keeps me getting up every morning. It's what keeps me trying with all my might to build more housing, to build new companies, and to write like this. We've been here before. This isn't our first Gilded Age. We've lived with the presence of Jim Crow and widespread open bigotry, of classicism, tools used to split the populace to the benefit of an elite. The Klan marched 30,000 plus in Washington, D.C. in 1923. They also tried to march on my very hometown in 1924. Immigrants, including some of my family members, stopped them in their tracks at the town border. People get pissed, it turns out, when they know what they're missing. If you think you can write, then I say write. If you can organize, then organize. Reach out to just one person, commiserate, and grow your group from there. There is, believe me, strength in numbers. When you see an injustice, you really should call it out. Remember the Zappa quote from a moment ago? Demand a refund on that ticket. Demand a free and fair election. Demand a more inclusive economy. Participate in solutions. Create the right instead of avenging the wrong. And most importantly, love one another.
SMG's Are We Here Yet podcast is a production of M the Media Project and SM Graves Associates. Learn more at smgravesassociates.com.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.